So my partners for next year. So I'm playing with Dekal and I'm playing with Meghan and Dezon. Those are two people that I've been looking at for a while. I think we're going to do very well. I got a little taste with Dekal this last weekend. Haven't really had any touches with Meghan yet, but look forward to it. And that's kind of what I'm looking at for 2024. Obviously, the schedule still it seems like it's pretty much done for 2024. They're obviously still trying to figure out the merge.
Yeah, I think it's the same schedule that everybody's seeing, the newest one that's been released. Yeah. My understanding is that each team, because there'll be like conferences, so your team might not play in every one of those. So essentially every team will play in half of those. And so I think as you're talking about people really getting behind teams and cheering for the people, it'll be fun to follow.
What is going on? My name is Tyson McGuffin. Welcome to the McGuffin Show. We are back. Sorry for the long delay here. Been on the road last month or so, but season is over. Hoorah for 2023. Moving into 2024, bigger and better things. Lots of crazy stuff taking place in the pickleball world right now, but I think most players are in a much better spot. 40% pay cuts. But yeah, let's see. We had Tour Finals, San Clemente Lifetime, back-to-back with MLP. I'll tell you what, San Clemente Lifetime up on the hill there. It used to be an old tennis club. Now we got turned into that Lifetime facility. That place is gorgeous. The view of San Clemente up on the hillside there. Even though San Clemente is a little bougie, always loved going to San Clemente. And obviously, being in early December, it's cold here in Coeur d'Alene. It's been snowy and stuff like that, so it's nice to get to some warm weather. A couple restaurants that my wife and I love to go to there in San Clemente. Nick's, south of Nick's, Sol Agave, restaurant called Vine. There's also this breakfast place that we generally order from every morning. What is that place called?
Sunrise Cafe.
Sunrise Cafe.
We've never actually been there.
Yeah, and
we just DoorDash it.
Right. And don't know about you guys, but I really have. I'm not all that experienced with these enchilada style breakfast tacos, because isn't that red sauce on there like an enchilada sauce?
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I was trying to figure that out.
It's like an enchilada sauce with hash browns and sausage and eggs and these tacos. I mean, it's served in like a platter of 3 tacos. All you really need is one because the tacos are massive.
There you go.
But anyhow, so had ourselves a good time there. Let's see, flew in. Craig and I, for gosh sakes, never flying to Seattle again, because every time we fly to Seattle, we always get delayed. Craig and I ended up taking off Tuesday night. I had a Skechers event scheduled for early Wednesday morning. That didn't happen because we ended up getting stuck in Seattle Tuesday night. Didn't fly in until later on Wednesday. But
and that was even with them checking every partner airline, everything. It was total.
Delta, be better.
Total nice.
Okay.
Well,
if we're gonna be members, be better.
To be honest, though, we rarely ever have anything issue, and we did have a Delta delay. So Delta put you on Alaska. To be fair, and
Alaska,
I think they gave you like a 30-minute connection, and then of course they're doing construction on the airport. So it was like
construction.
You have to do shuttles.
We ended up flying in, and Craig and I have like a 15-minute layover. Come to find out, they ended up putting us on a shuttle and dropped us off in A gates. Craig and I had to run all the way to N gates. Craig actually made it to the gate because Craig was on the first shuttle, because Craig was on the front of the plane. I was in like 30D, so I was on the second shuttle. I told Craig, I'm like, hey, you're at the gate. Tell the gate agent not to leave. Okay, Daddy's coming home. Okay, I'm coming home. Wait for my ass. That didn't happen.
Craig couldn't sweet talk her.
Craig's got no game. Apparently,
your diamond means nothing.
Yeah, diamond status means 0. Okay, Craig ended up calling me as I'm on the shuttle. And he's like, bro, this chick is not willing to wait. And I said, keep that goddamn gate open. Didn't happen. And then my wife, being the helper that she always is, come to the rescue.
Found you an LA flight.
Found me an LA flight on Delta.
Was leaving in like 10 minutes.
Leaving in 10 minutes. Told me to run all the way down there. I knew I wasn't gonna make it, but still, she's just so bugging me, being a pest, saying, "Hey, get down there. I guarantee it's gonna be open." So of course, I run my ass down there. get to the gate, fully sweating, sweat through my shirt. I have a beanie on, that thing's soaking wet. And come to find out, the gate is closed. There's nobody there. There's no life.
Well, we were just trying to do best by our partners, both PPA, Goodyear, and Skechers. And we were trying to do everything we could to get you there.
Hanging out in Seattle, sleeping on a twin bed with Craig.
For the night.
Yeah.
And then...
and I always tell Craig, I say, hey, if you want to... And this is something that my dad used to always say. My dad would go on these wrestling trips with other wrestling coaches and be like, hey, if you want to sleep with me, you can, but... I don't wear any underwear. I told Craig the same thing. I said, hey, if you want to sleep with me, you can, but Daddy doesn't wear any undies. Mama knows that. Stop. Anyhow, Craig and I flew in later Wednesday. I actually ended up taking Wednesday off, used the rest day. I was super sore. And then obviously, Final Four, Tour Finals, top 8 men, top 8 women, singles, doubles, mixed. Let's see. There was 2 girls that made all 3 events in women's, Catherine and Anna Lee. There was 3 men that made all 3 events in men's, J-Dub, Benny, and myself. Let's see. And so singles day, I didn't play too shabby. Ended up losing to Federico early. Wasn't sharp in that first match. Ended up losing like 5-6. Beat J-Dub in 3. Beat him like 11-9 in the third, and then beat Pablo in 3. Obviously, with there being 8 men, there was 2 pools of 4. Ben, CG, Alshon, Jay DeVilliers were in the other pool. Let's see. Connor ended up beating Ben out the gates. Happened in both men's and in mixed. As we all know, Ben, the guy's a total stud, and he is the ultimate GOAT. And as you saw, Triple Crown at the Tour Finals. And then freaking came back from nowhere, came back from the dead in MLP, down 0-2 in the semis, down 0-2 in the finals, and found a freaking way. When does that guy not find a way? Anyhow, he ended up losing early to Christian in pool play on Thursday. He ended up losing early to AB and James in mixed Friday morning. But he climbed back in singles, won his next 2, beat Jay, beat Christian in 3. I was hoping I was going to play Christian because they were all tied up. Christian, and that's kind of like the beauty of pool play to a certain degree, is that I think Jay was 0 for 3, but Christian, Connor, and Christian, Connor, and Ben were all 2-1. So if you're 2-1,
then it goes
take out the wins and losses. It goes to point differential. Ben ended up beating Ben ended up beating Christian. But in point differential, he ended up beating him by 1 point. So, of course, I get to play that stud when he's nice and dialed late in the day. And I can't tell you how many times this has freaking happened. Whether it's a regular PPA Tour stop, we're in opposite sides of the draw. I go through 4 matches in like the bottom half of the draw, being the 2 or 3 seed. Don't lose a game all day. Ball out, crush everybody. Ben is in the upper half. He's scrapping and clawing. Goes, wins in 3 in the quarters, wins in 3 in the semis. And then, of course, what does he always do come Sunday? Or what does he always do when when his back's against the wall? The guy finds his best stuff, and he slaps me around real quick and beats the living snot out of me. And that's exactly what happened in that semis match. It was done and over real quick. Get me the hell off of this court. I don't have that level. Guy's a stud. And one of the craziest things about singles day, though, was Christian Alshon and Federico. I totally stopped watching this match. So Federico's up 11-2, 7-0. I think I don't know how many freaking match points he had in game 2, but he was mowing Christian over, not even close, 11-2, 7-0. All of a sudden, Christian wins game 2, 14-12. And guess what happened in game 3? Fed had nothing left, and I love Fed, and there's no harm in me saying this, but he may have just rolled over and died because Christian won 11-0, and from when it looked like Fed was mentally cashed and out of it and threw in the towel, tanked to a certain degree. Christian obviously ended up winning that match, lost to Ben in the finals in 3, played him very tight, though, ended up losing 10-12. Didn't have any match points, but yeah, I can't tell you how good that man is when he needs to flip the switch. He can flip it quick. He can find his best stuff. And That's why he's the best in the sport. Mixed day, I ended up playing with Leah Jansen. We ended up going 0-3. We lost in 3 to Catherine and Thomas. Lost in 2 to Ben and Anna Lee. And then we got to play Ben and Anna Lee after they lost to AB and James. I'll tell you what, though. That is definitely not the match, or that's not the timing, not the right timing that you want to play that team.
The bear is poked.
No, the bear is poked. They gave us the business real quick.
Not that they need that anyway.
In about 10 minutes on championship court. And then later on, we ended up losing to James and Anna, who later on ended up making the semis. Ben and Anna Lee were, let's see, I think they were number 1 to come out of the pool. James and Anna were number 2. James and Anna ended up playing the Johnsons. They ended up losing like 11-9 in the third against the Johnsons. Overall, very good match. James, it seemed like, was kind of cramping there late in game 3. And then in the other pool, Matt and Lucy ended up coming through, and the Johnsons. Ben and Anna Lee ended up beating up on Lucy and Matt fairly quickly in that semis. I was surprised that Matt and Lucy made it through. They were definitely a team that was losing, second round or quarters pretty much all year. But yeah, they ended up making it through, and it just comes to show that anything can happen on any given day, especially in that pool play style format. And then moving on to men's day. It was my first time playing with Dekel. Actually, Dekel and I are teaming up next year, and it was Dekel and I's first date. I thought overall though went very good. We ended up going 1 and 2. We lost both of the matches that we lost in 3. Lost to the Johns in 3. Shouldn't have lost this match, but our first match of the day, we're definitely trying to find the best version of ourselves and find the best version of ourselves as a team. Also, just try to figure out some general chemistry out there, things we do well together, things that we don't do well together. We ended up losing to Julian and AJ. And then late in the day, definitely found our best stuff. And I think finding our best stuff, we served aggressively. We both can go big on the serve. We can get lots of freebies or lots of cheapies or different ways to get some free points by being aggressive on the serve and being aggressive on the drive. And very last match, we ended up playing Matt and James. Beat him in 3, game 1. We probably played a little too much over to James. I'm not going to lie. James Ignatowicz right now using that power air. It's got a little less power. He's using the purple and pink one. But I think something that he's realized is that at MLP, when nobody's 002s were passing, and I mean nobody's 002s, it's funny now that most of the paddles are passing, whether it's PPA or it's MLP, so something fishy is going on there. But James obviously couldn't use his 002. Couldn't use the white and gold 002 because you can't use those colors with MLP, so he was forced to use the power air. And I think something that he's found out with that power air is that he can shape his dinks better. It's got a larger hitting zone. James has always kind of had a hard time in transition or getting himself established as he's dropping or driving and coming up. So overall, I feel like that paddle really has enhanced most parts of his game. He's already got power, so he doesn't need anything super poppy. But that paddle has given him a lot more control, a lot more spin. And that little two-handed backhand dink of his, whether you're hitting a linear dink at him or you're hitting a lifting dink, he's always, with that paddle and his footwork and just with how well he hits that two-handed backhand dink, he's always looking to drive and push his backhand dink. So it's tough to really get in control of that dinking pattern when you're going cross-court with him, just because he puts so much on his dink. Hence, if you take a look at that match at Nationals when James and Leung played the Johns boys, should have won in 4. Had, I think, didn't have any match points, but were at like 9-all game 4 and played them tight in game 5. James was out dinking Ben James was out dinking Ben cross court. Ben was making a bunch of unforced errors, simply just off of dinks because James was rolling the living crap out of that two-handed backhand dink. Honestly, probably one of the best, if not, one of the better, if not best, two-handed backhand dinks in the game right now is James Ignatowicz. Anyhow, so game 2 and game 3, we ended up keeping the ball away from Papa Jimmy. Why? Because Papa Jimmy's playing pretty stinking well right now. We ended up putting most returns over to James, and then once we got to the kitchen line, the main focus was grinding Matt down. Obviously, Matt's still playing at a very, very high level for his age, but he does take his time coming in on the return. So we ended up exploiting that. We served a little bigger at Matt, looked to drive, come in, make him kind of feel his age, make him feel his mobility a little bit. And then from a dinking standpoint, if he was able to handle our drive, once we got up, we just moved the dinks around. He wasn't taking a whole lot of dinks out of the air too. He was kind of backing up. I was playing the right, Dekal played the left, and kind of all day long, Dekal and I kind of mixed and matched. And it was kind of based on, who was more efficient on the left or who was more efficient on the right. Or, it was just a bit more situational. If I was able to beat the person in front of me head to head, I was staying on that side. But it seemed like in that very last match, it made more sense putting Triple D on the left, me on the right. I could grind Matt down. And anytime Matt came at Dekel's hands were ready. And we kind of took James out of the equation once we got to the kitchen line. And we ended up winning that match like 11-9. Probably 30% of our points, honestly, came from the serve and the drive. Dekel was hitting the living piss out of the serve, and he was thumping drives. And, so I think overall, Dekel and I definitely found some chemistry, found some things that we did well together. Looking forward to, us in 2024. And, so I think overall, good weekend for me. Obviously, a little sad that last PPA event didn't make Championship Sunday. But overall, good year for me. Was all banged up early on in the year. Tore my hip labrum, tendinosis in my left cheek, ran down my leg, popped my whole plantar fascia. I was all banged up. Went to PT, missed out on like 6 or 8 tournaments this year, and still ended up, high in the rankings. So sky's the limit for 2024. Definitely still, keeping my health team, doing everything right, waking up early, hot and cold, supplements, protein, all the above. So just looking to find a better version of myself come 2024. We ended up taking off that Sunday, spent some time with the kids, went to a golf simulator place. Hadn't played golf in like a week, totally played like crap. So funny golf. There's certain days where I love golf and I want to keep coming back and it fires me up. And there's other days where after playing 2 or 3 holes, I'm like, get me the heck out of here. And I don't ever want to see a golf course again. But overall, very therapeutic, even if I am mad at myself. Let's see. Also, Sunday night, didn't get to play on Championship Sunday, but there was an award ceremony at the very end, and the awards were for both male and female. Fan award,
Players' choice,
fan choice,
yeah.
Most improved, all that stuff.
Yep.
So I think Georgia ended up getting most improved for women. Christian got most improved for men's. I got fan award for men's. Anna Lee got fan award for women. She also got player award, and she won all 3. Why not? Ben Triple Crown player award. If he would have got the fan award,
oh man,
I lost to Ben not only in singles but in mixed and in men's. If I would have lost the award thing as well, I'm going home. I am flat out going home. Okay.
Stop.
But
Stop. No, it was fun to get that award. It kind of stunk because the award ceremony was like at the very end.
That was awesome. Everybody was there. Huge crowd.
Well, no, it's super,
nobody could give to what. There was nobody
cold,
there. It was cold. It was right after the mixed final. The day was done with.
Right.
Terrible time to do it. All good though.
Luckily, though, earlier in the day, definitely the crowd was very the stands were full, and so that was cool to see. Most all of Championship Sunday, it was just
no for sure.
Once that sun went down, I'm not kidding. I had my winter long to my ankle parka thing on, and I never thought I would be using that in California, and I definitely did, and was still a little cold. So I don't blame people for getting up and leaving.
And I mean, I was a little worried about just fan participation with not all the pros being there and it being a bit more individual based or exclusive for the top 8, male and female. There was amateurs going on. Don't know how many amateurs there were, but it still
about
seemed
900 is what I heard.
But yeah, I mean, singles day, it was a freaking ghost town. As with most singles days, nobody's there. Feel like you're playing a APP event, if you know what I mean. And then come Friday, Saturday, the fan participation definitely ramped up. Championship Sunday was packed all day. And just the award ceremony, there wasn't a whole lot of people. So, and then leading into Monday, so it was definitely back-to-back. Nice taking Sunday off, though. Monday morning, Team Miami was energized. We were mentally ready, physically ready. Got like an hour. We ended up, we were the last match to go on in the morning, so we ended up showing up at 9:30. DC played the squeeze at 10. Totally thought DC would come through there. The squeeze ended up sweeping them. And then we were on right after. Federico and I ended up going out first. I think Fed can vouch here as well. Fed was definitely not sharp early on. Towards the end, though, it's not about how it starts, it's about how you finish. Towards the end, though, I think Fed, found his
Flipped the switch.
Yeah, found a better version of himself. Started playing much better. Flipped the switch. We ended up climbing back. I think we were down 13-20. Usually, the probability in rally scoring MLP format, the probability of you coming back down 13-20, not very likely. But Fed and I proved him wrong. Climbed back, chipped away. Didn't focus on the score line, just focused on point at a time. And I think if there's something that fans or subscribers can take out of that, whether you're down 0-10, you're up 10-0, you got to treat every point like it's 0-0.
It's not over till it's over.
No, it's not over till it's over. And there's no score clock out there. Doesn't matter how long that freaking thing takes. Drag it out, make it a long death, make it a slow death. But find a way. Fed and I, we sharpened things up. We stopped giving stuff away. Found some different ways to create some free points. Found a better way to kind of isolate Eric and beat him in some hand battles. And that's all she wrote, baby. And then our women went out. I'm not going to lie. Our females went out. I thought our females would definitely get the dub. They did not. Nothing against them at all. Lacey and Jesse played very, very well. Lacey and Jesse, really the second MLP season playing for the Slice, they weren't all that successful. I think their win-loss record, I think they definitely had more losses than they did have wins. But the ladies played well. Showed up, ended up beating up on our ladies. And then go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I felt like Lacey definitely seemed a lot sharper this match. Like, I don't know that I saw her miss much at all.
Yeah.
So she was very dialed, and I felt like she was playing aggressively. Like, we know the Lacey that you played with in Newport Beach.
Sure.
She brought that offense, and I felt like she had minimal errors, and she was just dialed and focused for sure.
Yeah, I think when Lacey's able to use the serve and the drive as a weapon, and then dink aggressively with her forehand, not make mistakes, use her lane and be able to find some offense out of the air with the forehand on the right. She's a pretty dangerous customer for sure. And then Jessie, obviously did her thing. She's going to make a lot of balls. She's not going to miss.
She's not going to give up.
She's the
veteran out there for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, she made a lot of drops. They kind of isolated Tyra on the dinks. Tyra does a lot of things well, but I think if there's one thing that is just lacking just a touch, it's being able to really have some more purpose with her dinking. Be able to dink a bit more linear, to be able to dink a bit more aggressively. That way she can kind of set up some offense. Most of her dinking is pretty lifty, doesn't have a whole lot on it. Obviously, she makes a lot of dinks, and she relies on her hands, and she's very good at doing that. But in both the matches that the women have lost against Jessie and Lacey from the Slice, seems like both themes have been isolating Tyra once they get to the kitchen line and force her to, pop up dinks or miss dinks, but just force her to dink. So both those girls played well. And then in that very first mixed match, Mary and I went in. We ended up losing, 12-21 against Ben and Jesse. Both those guys played very well. We're obviously banking on our, probably best mixed team, Tyra and Fed to win that second mixed match. I'm not going to lie, Lacey and Eric, I don't actually know if they won any mixed matches in the first two MLP events, second season playing for the Slice. But one thing they did do well is that they showed up in San Clemente and they ended up beating Fed and Tyra. They also won their mixed match in the semis, and they also won their mixed match in the finals as well. So So we ended up losing that match. The Slice moved on, played DC later on. And honestly, like, I've given Ben plenty of compliments, but something that team was able to do, down 0-2 in the semis, down 0-2 in the finals. They lost both genders. They against DC. It's crazy. They threw Eric and Lacey out first. And it was almost like Ben was throwing them out there, knowing that they're playing DC's best mixed team. And it's almost like he threw them out there, knowing that they may lose that match and that it's all over. I was so surprised that Ben and Jesse didn't go in first, right? You know, just to get that W and to bring him to 1-2. So Eric and Lacey went in there. Win probability was very, very low, and they ended up doing it. Eric and Lacey ended up finding off a match point late there in the game of 21. I think it was like 19-20. Fought off a match point, came back, won 22-20. Ben and Jesse came in, beat Christian and Kawamoto 21-19, and then of course, what is this guy not done? So Ben is down 16-20 in the Dream Breaker. On paper, DC should blow out the Slice in that singles Dream Breaker. Ben plays a stellar point at 16-20. Doesn't even pump himself up after. Christian should have won the point 3 or 4 times. Ben ends up surviving, coming through, brings it back to 17-20, goes 3-1 with Christian during that little 4-point sequence, brings it to 19-20. Lacey comes in, does her thing. Lacey ends up winning 22-20. Crazy. Same thing in the finals. They end up waking up. Same thing the next day, down 0-2. Lose both genders, win both mixed in the Dream Breaker. The Squeeze on paper are so much better. They end up coming through, winning the Dream Breaker. The Slice win the Final Four. The Slice win the last MLP
in the
event
same
of the year.
sequence, right? Like Ben and then Lacey. That same order. I'm pretty sure Lacey closed it out, right, for the win.
Yeah. So for both the semis and the finals, kind of interesting. But the singles format that they did for their team in that Dream Breaker was Ben, Lacey, Eric, and then Jesse. Won both in the semis and both in the finals. So not too shabby. I'll tell you what. Anything, and that's the beauty of MLP. Rally scoring, anything can happen. I can't tell you how many matches go to 18-21. How many matches are tight. Honestly, and I've said this before. It seems like the teams that dictate a bit more are the teams that tend to bring the energy, obviously, but bring the gas and find that like aggressive tempo usually are the teams that are winning and that are very successful in MLP. So I think there's a general theme there. But
congrats to the Slice.
Congrats to the Slice.
And the Squeeze.
Also huge congrats to the Squeeze, for making three finals.
Yeah. And how cool, like, I mean, the Squeeze, I feel like you just like, they were like 125% heart out there. Like just all upbeat, and I don't know. I like you said, a team that just like keeps coming and coming. Like I felt like if anything, they were the most like in that moment where they didn't have any. I think there was probably times where the Slice and even in Miami where there were players that were just not feeling it or something like was lacking or it was like set back a little bit. But I felt like the Squeeze like brought their 120%. Every single time. Yeah, no, I think cool to see. No,
I think there was great team chemistry. I think Andre's a true fighter. Andre definitely doesn't get enough respect and doesn't get enough, credit.
No, for sure.
Credit.
For sure.
I mean, the guy fights well. Big guy. He's worked on his hands. He's not missing drops. Doesn't miss dinks. Doesn't give a whole lot away. But his main attribute is that he fights like there's no tomorrow. Zane obviously too. Zane hasn't done a whole lot in PPAs this year, but you put him in that MLP format, and the guy's a freaking stud, and he can find a way. Rips third balls. Got good hands. Plays the left well, but also can play the right with Andre and be the setup guy. He's super versatile. And he doesn't have a spin serve anymore, but he's still producing results. Obviously AB, she's had good results in PPA this year. She's been a top 2, top 3 girl, both women's and mixed. Probably the most talent on their team, is a great leader, is a true tactician as well. Absolutely. And then Rachel was the real MVP. Rolls the living hell out of that forehand dink. likes to drive the forehand, drops it aggressively, plays the right better than most, and I think just from like a team, atmosphere standpoint, she can lead. She's a tactician. She's bold. She's confident, and just seems like somebody that is great to have on your team.
For sure.
All right, so off season is starting here. Let's see. We plan to not do a whole lot, just kind of chill at home. Got ourselves a nice little compound here in Coeur d'Alene. Spend some time with the kids.
We're gonna head to Montana.
Do some hot springs. There's a little place called what is that little spot called?
It's called, oh my gosh, you put me on the spot. Quinn's Hot Springs.
That place is booked up for, it seems like, the next 5 years.
Yeah, and just if anybody does go, if you are able to get a slot, like know that when you turn the corner, there's absolutely no phone service. So for like a good segment, there's no phone service, and then when you get to the resort itself, it still has no phone service, but they do have Wi-Fi there. So it's a totally unplugged, or at least off your phone type of weekend.
Low key tip.
Yeah.
Low key tip.
Which is great. That's kind of the beauty and the purpose of it, right? So we have a full cabin. We'll have us and our 4 kiddos, and so it'll be fun. The kids love it. They can play around in the pools. There's a bunch of different pools, and restaurant on site, and then, popcorn and movie nights.
Cold plunge, come on.
Yeah, snow. Sometimes, I'm sure by then there'll probably be some snow, and so we'll bring all their snow stuff like we did the last few years, play in the snow, jump in the hot springs. Then we get back like the night before Christmas Eve, I think, and then Christmas Eve, we're going on the Santa Cruz, Coeur d'Alene Resort. So that'll be kind of fun. Kids ride out, and they have a whole light show, and you visit the North Pole, and Santa's got a list, and he reads off.
Santa tells your kid how bad he's been.
Oh, yeah. Santa reads the naughty list and the nice list. Yeah. So, but, pressure will be on for our kids because it's the night before Christmas, so Christmas Eve.
If Santa says you're on the naughty list, there's no presents.
Oh, that's probably a rough go. No, but so do that. I think we'll have milk and cookies delivered, which is super fun. And then, night at home, and then wake up, do Christmas here. And, and then you're heading out after
all
Christmas.
the kids are getting for Christmas is merch from Chicken and Pickle and free merch from Skechers. We're not spending a dime this year. We're not. Use your brand endorsements at its finest and send stuff for all my children.
And then we'll figure out which tournaments they're coming to, and we'll just wrap up certificates. Like, you're coming to California.
Right.
You're just kidding.
Let's see here. But yeah, so for myself, I know if I don't stay in a routine, I'll mentally go wacko. So nothing really changes for me. Still getting up at crazy hours, hot and cold, seeing Craig, yoga, working out, the whole deal, practice. I'm going to try to spend the next 5 weeks. Just, being more of a specialist in doubles. I've probably dedicated like 70% of my training over the last 8 or 9 years, playing singles. I've had great results in singles, also have great results in mixed and men's. But obviously just with, men's being, or just doubles in general being more mainstream, being seen much bigger than singles, I'm going to make damn sure over the next 4 or 5 weeks that I just find some different things in my game, maybe work on some new techniques, keep building the cardio, keep building the gas tank, play a bunch of matches. But yeah, just I guess now's the time to really add in some new elements to my game, work on some different things, work on some things that are uncomfortable. That way I can kind of work on that stuff over the next 4 or 5 weeks and be dialed mentally, physically, and game ready come Palm Springs, their second weekend in January. Let's see, I'm going to Miami later, or actually I'm going to Miami tomorrow. Just for a 1-day trip. Wifey won't let me stay more than 1 day, if you know what I mean. Miami is a very dangerous place. But you want to talk about Miami?
Yeah, you got invited to a cool, I think, dinner with different, I think it's a private dinner, that different athletes, influencers. I could be misspeaking there, maybe athletes and artists. So it's Art Basel in Miami Beach, so you get to go
Art
to
Week.
This. Yeah, really cool. And speaking of which, Team Miami for MLP, they have a pickleball court, which they were
on South Beach.
Yeah, so
Nick Curious was there yesterday doing a Q&A.
And
they actually asked Nick if there was a player on tour he'd love to play men's with. Guess who he said? You bet your ass. He said me. He said me. He said TM all day.
No, it's really cool too. They put the court on South Beach, and then one of the artists that's, I'm guessing, presenting at our Basel actually came and painted the court. So next time we see that court, it's probably a new piece of art. So it's really cool.
So flying in, I don't know, Friday at like 3, dinners from 7 to 10. But really, the whole dinner's about me getting to meet other athletes, me getting to meet other influencers, and also, too, there's going to be a bunch of brands there as well. So athletes are, being introduced to new brands. Brands are meeting athletes.
Yeah, just a really cool event, a good networking event. You get to meet lots of fun people, and hopefully some more stuff will come.
Get some more sharks from it, baby. Right. That's all we like. Get shark brand endorsements.
No, it's
Bring
fun
on the big boys.
It's fun to make all the connections in person, and it too. I think what's cool is what we've learned, even through the MLP process. Like, you've met so many things and products that you use already as an athlete for recovery or whatever to fuel you and that sort of thing. We end up meeting owners that are connected to those companies, so we can kind of sew all those relationships together.
Yeah,
so pretty cool.
Also, too, the end goal in this whole thing is, I'm only getting older, better looking now, and with that being said, we're obviously looking to be as marketable as I can, and so doing things like this or doing cross promo, whether it's the Live Tour event, whether it's the Indy event, whether it's going to dinners with other brands, my end goal is to make myself as marketable as I can.
Sure. I think, too, our big goal as well is, and this is what we've always said, is like giving back to the sport in whatever way we can, which I think means, especially as these tours are coming together and it looks like this merger is going to happen, which is great. We really want to be supportive, and we've always wanted to grow the sport of pickleball. So just like the Live event is a perfect example, they reached out to work with you. We were able to then, match it up with our MLP team, and right. They were able to put a pickleball court there, and we were able to do cross sport and stuff like that. I think there's
Brought
so
in
many.
Federico, Tyra, and
right.
Mary.
I think there's so many more opportunities there where just you as a person or you as a top pickleball player outside of pickle can kind of point back to that. So I think it's cool to see that we would be able to help the sport grow and touch more people and get in front of more eyeballs and bring people back to our tours.
I grow, we grow.
Yes, for sure.
No, for sure. So later on this month, I am meeting with my mental coach, and I'm going to be going to his compound there in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And kind of cool. We're basically doing like 3 or 4 days of therapy. Those 3 or 4 days of therapy is supposed to be equivalent to like 30 to 40 years of therapy. And essentially we are doing something that allows me to just find a different version of myself, make me more confident, push out the demons, be able to kind of meet my demons head to head and walk through them, be able to sustain my level longer as an athlete, be a better dad. Basically, this therapy just enhances every single aspect of my life. Super excited about it. Something I've never experienced, and something that I think is more mainstream now. There's a lot of athletes that are doing stuff like this. And anyhow, so you guys are truly going to enjoy my whole journey on it. I think we're going to gather some content as well.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to have Ben, your wellness coach, on here to be able to kind of speak more to it. He's written a book about it. He's done this therapy in person, but not only that, but just the access to his book. There's been plenty of people that have just simply read his book or listened to it, or there's a video on it. And even by experiencing it through proxy, basically through his story, it's changed their lives. So it's pretty cool to see. And I think something that not everybody wants to talk about, and it's always a little bit like, do you talk about it? Do you not? And I think you've opened up slightly on some interviews, but mental health is something that, maybe not everybody, but it's definitely something that we've struggled with, or that you've had struggles with, and you've talked a little bit about it, but we really haven't deep dived into it. And I don't know, it's not maybe for everybody, but I think in the same sense, like, you want to be able to have a platform or a spot where you can share it to those who do understand that, or maybe have gone through it, or would love. Yeah, for sure. And if you can share a little bit about your story and be a little bit vulnerable, maybe that won't be on all the accessible channels that we usually do, but we'll find a way to be able to kind of share that story. But first and foremost, we definitely will have Ben on here or in some form, and Ben can share his story and then his book and kind of how that's all gone. And then from there, there'll be a way for everybody to kind of follow on your journey as you do this like deep dive into wellness. And I've always said it from day one too, like we spend so much on your recovery, like your physical recovery. I mean, we've before there were all these really cool recovery tools that we now have access to. We've spent a lot on body work and nutrition and all of that. And
now
so
it's time to focus on the mental stuff.
No, and I've always said that like it's kind of, you would think that, you know, the mental health side of things should be just as important, if not more important than the physical health, because you could have all the physical health and all the everything else, and when the mental health.
How many good talented athletes out there are out there, but simply they just can't get out of their own way, or how many talented athletes are out there, but they just can't see it through, or mentally they just can't put themselves in a spot where they can perform at their best, you know.
Right, absolutely. So it's a big part of our story, maybe not a part that everybody knows, and so it feels nice to be able to talk about that and share. Pushing
the pride and the ego aside, and I think if there's something that I've really figured out more about myself over the last 6 months is that my mental health goes down the drain if I don't have a routine. If I don't have a similar day in and day out, and I got introduced to a health team this year, changed my diet, started working with a therapist, dumped on all my baloney and all my nonsense on him. He's totally opened up to me, and I just feel like through all that, it's been very powerful. But now we're just taking it one step further. And I think for any athlete out there, they're always looking to find their best version of their flow state. Something that my therapist and I always talk about is like, finding my flow state and being comfortable in that flow state. Well, this therapy that I'm going to be doing will allow me to just be dialed and be more focused and be able to prolong that flow state for longer.
Right.
And I think if there's any athlete out there, they all want the same thing: find a better version of themselves and be able to sustain a high level for a freaking long time.
Right, for sure. So excited for that. It will be a journey for sure, and it's already been a journey.
Okay, so my partners for next year. So I'm playing with Dekel Bar and I'm playing with Meghan Dezon. Those are two people that I've been looking at for a while. I think we're gonna do very well. I got a little taste with Dekel this last weekend. Haven't really had any touches with Meghan yet, but look forward to it, and that's kind of what I'm looking at for 2024. Obviously, the schedule is still, it seems like it's pretty much done for 2024. They're obviously still trying to figure out the merge.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's the same schedule that everybody's seen, the newest one that's been released.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was going to just say, with the exception of MLP, you'll see on in there's a lot of MLP events standalone, and then there's a lot of MLP events that are connected to PPAs. But my understanding is that each team, because there'll be like conferences, so your team might not play in every one of those. So essentially every team will play in half of those. So you'll get a good mix every time there's an MLP. It might not be all of the teams. There's definitely a few events, I believe, that are all the teams, but everything else will be just some of the teams. So it'll be kind of fun. And so I think as you're talking about people really getting behind teams and cheering for the people, it'll be fun to follow along.
Yeah, and they're still obviously trying to figure out player contracts and stuff like that. That's all very messy. As you guys have seen, there's lots of changes taking place in the landscape with MLP and both PPA, but it sounds like we're on the right path. Sounds like both tours are very supportive.
Yeah, and I think most all the athletes, even though I think probably some of them were, put all the eggs in that basket or thought that they were getting X amount or a certain amount, I think that reality speaks above everything else, and I think no matter what, it's still a lot of money that they would have not been getting either way. And they obviously want it to work. And I think all of these players are echoing that sentiment. And so the powers that be at both tours are very smart and obviously are working overtime 24/7 to try to figure out a way for this to work in a way that they can pay these players still as much as possible, but also pay the bills and keep the events running and have this whole thing be a success. And so I think all of the players are really just sitting back, or those at least I haven't heard of any that are really pushing back, and it seems like they're all saying, yeah, we'll all do our part to take a pay cut and we all want this thing to succeed, and how do we get there? So
one thing that I am going to bring up is who saw me and this hot mom over here in that purple Lambo in Daytona. Hot damn. I'll tell you what.
Oh my gosh. Okay. One
If
funny.
that doesn't make you moist, I don't know what will.
As we're getting to the end here, I got to get moving. I got to go to Banks' appointment. But no, speaking to the purple Lambo, I was thinking we were getting the 4-seater for the kiddos, so it was okay. We pivoted, but all of that to say, it was pouring down rain.
Screw the kids.
Pouring down rain.
I'm driving the Lambo.
Pouring rain in Daytona Beach. One of the days there was no parking left at the venue when we got there. No pro parking left. And so we pull in, I drop you off, and I like get in the driver's seat, and I'm like staring at the steering wheel, staring at the console.
She drops me off, and then just to make its statement, leaves the parking lot and guns it.
Oh, stop.
I'm like, whoa, sweetie, okay? You don't have to let everybody know.
That's not true. It was actually the opposite of that. I didn't even know how to get it rolling, and the security guy is staring at me, and I'm like staring at the steering wheel like, okay, I know I'm smarter than this. It's an automatic. How do I get this thing to roll? And finally, you come back. You realize like, oh, shoot, I didn't tell her. So you come back, and you're like, oh, just hit the paddle to this, and then yada, yada. So I go very carefully inch my way out of that driveway. I have to do it at an angle. I'm just very careful. Go to the overflow parking.
It's a pain in the ass to drive.
Get to the overflow parking. There's like a pavement. So I'm like, okay, we're good here. Pull up in there. I start driving. And then there's this part where the pavement ends and it turns into grass. And then there's a whole grassy parking area, which I'm thinking, this car, not a good idea. All meanwhile, imagine.
Step one, never park a Lambo in grass.
No, it's pouring rain. People are walking everywhere. They're all staring at me, and they all want to ask me, "Is that your car? Is it?" I'm like so embarrassed. Eyes are on me. I'm doing this whatever you call that point turn. It took forever to get all the way around.
Drives it into a pond.
No. I parallel park it here. I'm looking. There's a pond right next to me. I'm like, okay. This seems a little fishy, but
pissing rain.
Oh yeah. So it just didn't feel right. But the parking attendant's like, I swear to you, I park people here all the time. This is not a problem. My vehicle's right in front of you.
If it's floating in the pond, I'll go get it. Don't worry.
You'll be totally fine. I'm like, okay. So I get out. I walk in the rain, go to the tournament. I go to check in with you. You're about ready for your events. And 5 players come up to me and say, I would move the car. I saw where you parked that. I would move the car. And I'm like, are you kidding me? By this point, it's raining even harder. I run all the way back. My hair is soaking wet. I'm just covered in rain. I hop in the car, start it up, the parking attendant runs over to me. He's like, no, what are you doing? You're moving it? I'm like, yeah, I'm just a little concerned with the pond, being level with the car is probably a bad idea. So I'm going to go somewhere else. He's like, where are you going to park that thing? And I'm like, that's a great question. I'm not really sure.
In Dorothy's front yard, okay?
So he says, you can go to the lot next door. They'll help you out there. Or there's a police department is right across the street. You could probably park it over there. So I'm like, okay, perfect. Go to the lot next door. It's an uphill mountain thing with no pavement. I'm like, that's not going to work. Start driving through the streets. The streets are filling up with water. I'm trying to avoid puddles. I go over to the police department. I pull up into the police department and think okay, this is promising. It's higher ground. I pull in. Of course, every spot says police on it. And the cops are they're all coming out of the court. They're all laughing. Oh yeah, they're just laughing, having a great time with it. I'm like, awesome. Leave that parking lot. Still trying to find parking. Find a YMCA behind. End up parking at the YMCA and then Ubering from the parking spot over to because it was pouring down rain. Right. Total nightmare. Definitely not practical in the rain. But we made it.
Shout out to Pegasus. Shout out to Pegasus.
I looked good, right? The whole
hooking
time.
us up. Yeah, that car's badass. That thing's hard as could be.
We'll just look at the forecast next time before we get the Lambo.
Yeah, so we got the Lambo Sunday, drove it all week through Monday. But the first couple of days in Daytona, it's blowing 30 miles an hour. It's pissing rain. So obviously we had the top over us. We didn't drop the top. And so Tuesday night, I ended up taking Meg out on a hot date. Right, I'm sitting at the stoplight. It's pouring, raining. I have no idea how to drive fast cars, so I thought I'd try to surprise her. So anyhow, at the lights, red turns green. I freaking gun this thing. Right, gun it. The road is soaking wet. Gun it. It totally fishtails out. I swear, my cannon went from there to there. in a matter of seconds. Scared the living hell out of me. I made sure not to go fast at all if it was raining after that. But anyhow, fast car, fun car to drive. That was my first time driving a Lambo. Huge shout out to Pegasus for taking care of us anytime we're in Florida. He always gives us cars. Yeah. And he always gives us nice cars.
Yeah.
So shout out to my boy. Okay, my name is Tyson McGuffin. This is the McGuffin Show. We will tune in with you guys next week. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, turn those notifications on, and appreciate you.